Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking at my ethnicity estimates. I'm going to be comparing the different ethnicity estimates that I got with different companies and then talk a little bit about whether it's worth testing with different companies. So in previous videos I have already looked at my DNA. In particular I did videos with sort of each company that I tested with, and I also did a recent one talking about just comparing the different companies. But I was talking about generally the whole experience, not just particularly ethnicity estimates. And a lot of people ask why they have sort of different ethnicity estimates with different companies. And a lot of people test just because they want to know their ethnicity estimate, not even out of any kind of genealogy interest. So this video is for anyone who's just particularly interested in the ethnicity estimate. If this video looks a bit weird, I'm hoping that it's looking okay. My lights have stopped working. I have no idea why. I was all set up ready to film and then it just isn't working. So hopefully it is light enough and bright enough and doesn't look too weird, but I'm going to go ahead and film anyway because it has been a little while since my last upload. I was really busy last week. Excuses, you don't want to hear them. Anyway, let's just get on with this video. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you'll be updated of all of my future videos. And let's get on with it. So first I'll look at Ancestry DNA. So with Ancestry, my results were 54% Scotland, 26% Ireland, 17% England and Northwestern Europe, and 3% Wales. And Ancestry also has communities, so they're an interesting little extra that you get. They're not exactly an ethnicity estimate, but I'm just going to mention them anyway because that's part of Ancestry's deal. So we have Scottish Central Lowlands, Australia, New South Wales, British settlers, Greater Sydney, Scottish Lowlands, Northern England and Northern Ireland, Northeastern State settlers, and New England and Eastern Great Lakes. So I'll just jump forward next to Living DNA. And with Living DNA, I was 100% Great Britain and Ireland. And to specify, that was Northern Ireland and Southwest Scotland 25.9%, and Ireland 21.5%, and then all the different little regions that they've got there. I did find the North Wales bit interesting, 4.1%, because that might be once again that Wales thing. It's reflecting my British Isles ancestry, which is by far and away matching to what I know. Okay, next, Family Tree DNA. I've got 100% Europe, so that's not a surprise. Then it's England, Wales and Scotland 48%, Ireland 42%, and Central Europe 11%. And lastly, my heritage, which is 100% Europe, and then broken down into North and West Europe 94.7%, Irish, Scottish, Welsh 80.6%, and Scandinavian 14.1%, South Europe 5.3%, Italian 3%, and Greek and South Italian 2.3%. And of course I am 100% Vanessa Bland, which is good to know because I thought I was, but you never know, that would be concerning if I wasn't. Alright, so these do fairly well match up. None of them are too dissimilar, but I'll just talk a little bit about the differences. So to start with, you might have noticed that they're grouped differently. Like, they're not all grouped by individual countries. Some of them separate, for example, England and, you know, in a separate area they'll have Scotland, and other ones will put England and Scotland together or things like that. So how they decide to group them does vary between the companies. So it does make it hard to kind of compare like apples with apples. You end up comparing apples with oranges, but that's okay. So you still get the same general idea, and it's not really that important, in my opinion, to break it down too carefully between each country, because really the differences in your DNA between those very close countries just isn't going to matter that much. So obviously, you know, people from a particular region are going to share particular DNA, but it's not like DNA is broken down by country borders. Like, obviously those borders were constructed by humans and they've been done fairly recently, and borders constantly getting moved and countries are getting changed. So across time, those are ever changing. So it's very hard to sort of say what's English DNA and what's Scottish DNA. So what the companies do is they aim for sort of a reference. They want like a reference point of sort of between 500 and 1,000 years ago. So that's what they're sort of looking for. That would be their ideal reference population. But of course, we can't sample populations from that time, so obviously we have to sample people from now. Sorry, my dog just lost her mind, so I had to stop filming for a moment. Where was I? Reference populations. So yeah, when these companies are putting together their reference populations, which is how they come up with these ethnicities, ideally they would be wanting to gather information from the past, but they have to use people from now. So what they do is they look for people who have documented family history in just one sort of smallish region, maybe even just like a little village or something, and use them as the sample for that region. So they want to know that that person's, I think they look for grandparents or great-grandparents at least, have all come from just that one specific region. So many people are going to have people, you know, coming from all different regions. But what they're looking for are those people who are concentrated. And then once they pull that together, they use an algorithm and they get rid of the outliers and things like that. So it's pretty good science. It's not completely foolproof though. But it is ever sort of getting better. So even if it's not perfect now, it's going to only get better. So you might notice that you get updates sometimes, and the updates are going to, over time, become more and more accurate. So the one thing that maybe stood out with my results was the Scandinavian in the MyHeritage test. And a lot of people say that they get bigger chunks of Scandinavian in that test. And so me, for example, I have no known sort of Scandinavian ancestry. I don't have, I've never found any relatives from Scandinavia, and I don't believe any of my recent relatives are from there. In the very, very, very far distant past, when we're looking at people like Vikings, then yeah, sure, I do have ancestors from there, but that is a very, very, very long time ago. So why would Scandinavia come up in my results? So I had a little bit of a look into this one, and it seems that in a way, MyHeritage, they pick up on English DNA and Scandinavian DNA as quite similar. So I didn't get any England in my MyHeritage results, but I did get England in everything else. And I do have known English ancestry. But of course, Vikings, and sort of if you look, not just Vikings, but across all of history, you had Danes, you had people coming from the Scandinavia sort of region into England. They were settling there. So many people from England will share that sort of Scandinavian ancestry, but it'll be much further back. So I think that kind of explains why Scandinavia is showing up there. It's just reflecting my much, much, much further back ancestry. So the thing is, obviously between these tests, they can't even pick a certain time period. They can't say like, all of your ancestors in the year 1000 are from these places. But as a generalization, they're wonderful. Like they can definitely help with your family tree if that's what you're doing it for. If you're just doing it out of curiosity, then go for it. It's fun and interesting. But as you'll have seen from my previous rants, please do remove your availability from the websites, because people like me who are into genealogy will message you if I turn out to be your cousin and try to figure out a link, and if you're not interested in that, it's really, really annoying. See my rant above. Okay, so I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. So is it worth testing with different companies? Yes. You don't have to buy the kits from every single company if you don't want to do that. What I did is I personally bought the kits from every single company because I wanted to make the videos to show you guys what the whole process was like with each company. But if I was advising somebody else, or you know, if I wasn't making these videos, I would suggest just buy it from one company and then upload your raw data to the other companies. So then they will give you their estimates. And the best thing you can do then is compare them, and you'll be able to see where the similarities and differences are. Like if there's one that just shows one really odd thing and it doesn't fit in with anything else, then you can sort of put it down as maybe just being a little anomaly. So for example, my, what was it? My South Europe section of the MyHeritage test that shows sort of Italy and Greece, I think is an anomaly. It doesn't show up anywhere else. I don't have any known ancestry from that region. I might share some DNA with people from that region, which is how that would have shown up, like from their reference population. We probably share some sort of ancient sort of European DNA, but my ancestors aren't from the Mediterranean, and I know, and I'm pretty confident of this one. So I can rule that out as far as any of my genealogy goes. It's not worth worrying about. Whereas the sort of general consensus that my ancestors are England, Ireland, Scotland is absolutely 100% on the money. And by comparing them all, I can see that general consensus coming up. The little shred of Wales that showed up more than once does make me curious about whether there's something going to be there. So I'm keeping that like mental note. So we'll see if anything comes up there. But once again, it's just sort of a maybe, maybe not. It's only a little chunk. But yeah, by comparing them, you can definitely get a little bit more out of your results. So if you do one test, you can't just assume that test to be the be all and end all. None of the tests are 100% perfectly accurate. There's no such thing. They're just all using their own algorithms, their own reference panels. That's why I suggest, yes, do different tests if you can. Okay, that's about all. Sorry if this video was a little bit rambling, but I think I covered all of the points that I wanted to. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the comment section, and I will see you soon in my next video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye!